Welcome everyone to Spirit Coffee Talk. I'm Ginette Byro, and with me is Lisa Richmond. Elyse is not here today, but we have some cool things in store. We are going to look into pulling some cards today with messages for you guys. There's lots going on, whirling around all over the place. Lisa did get some insights about the changes of 3D and 5D, and I imagine all of you are feeling all the feels because I know I sure am. But we want to really welcome you here today. And yeah, any thoughts to share, Lisa?
Yeah, no, we were just we always have a little conversation before we come on here, and we're being just open about how we're feeling right now with everything going on, as we always are. And I had a beautiful download come through the last probably 3 days very strongly about connecting with our, I guess I could say, our soul's current vibration and how we're holding it in our frequency here on Earth. So, um, we've all kind of collectively understood the concept of being in our third dimensional body, right? And within a third dimensional world. But only now are we understanding that there's a difference between, a third dimensional world and perception to a fifth dimensional consciousness, and how we can, as human beings, live within that consciousness. So Jeanette and I kind of went back and forth this morning talking about like the differences between literally your perception. So when people say, what you see is what you hold in, you create your own vibrations, which creates your own reality. And that is commonly said, but I think in a point of like really understanding it or living by it can be different, right?
Mhm.
So we were talking about like how we see things and how we embody our existence is how we're going to continue to see things and pull things in and react to or interact with, depending upon our frequency.
Mhm.
So, how I saw it was that, Earth, the third dimensional and the fifth dimensional frequency is that which holds our current Earth, holds that vibration, and us that are really learning to ascend ourselves, to bring ourselves, to upgrade ourselves into more of a higher frequency perspective. We see more of a willingness for people to do it, to start a meditation practice, or to go out in nature a bit more. The things, put it simply, that bring us into lightness, or that where we can exist in our surroundings with more lightness, or that's being driven by a frequency or an energy or a feeling of a higher vibration, a lightness.
Mhm.
So exactly how we feel after a nice salt bath, or a steam shower, or a walk in the trees, or meditation, or a lunch with girlfriend, right? Like, so connecting ourselves, our higher selves, are connecting with the things that we create in our life that bring us into higher vibration. And as we get comfortable in that vibration, we continue to create surroundings that continue to lift us into that, while at the same time existing in a place and time currently that the exact same thing is happening in a lower density format. It's not better or worse, it's just the actual frequency of the energy, the density, right? And so if we are really programmed and attuned to hear and react and to coexist in a frequency that is more of a third dimensional frequency, we will continue to be guided and to react and to create our existence within that frequency. That's just energy, that's a law of energy. And what's happening is that the ascension process is happening at an accelerated rate where people are now accepting this invitation on a higher level to pull themselves in to a frequency of that more of a fifth dimension. So, like a human being that is emulating and working off of a fifth dimensional frequency, right? So, we hear about the third dimensional and the fifth dimensional frequency all of the time.
Mhm.
Um, And there's beautiful work done by lots and lots of like light workers out there who talk about this. So if you're curious about this, there's lots of places you can go look and listen to people speak about this fifth dimensional frequency, and really a new earth is really what they say is meaning, that you are creating an environment that is that of a higher frequency that brings you into the light, simply put. um, and so my guides of, oh, so many, like so many beautiful guides have been coming in and helping me to understand this, um, by transmuting and actually embodying this frequency versus just hearing about it and understanding it that way, right? Is actually like embodying it. And so we've been talking about that, and it's like, how do I share this? And it's more about sharing the information, but allowing people to invite those experiences into their life
Mm-hmm.
by connecting with the things that raise your frequency, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Totally does. Totally does. And I heard somebody else say the other day too, which really aligns here and is good to remember, is like you're saying, like attract, or like energy attracts like energy, right? So if you're sitting in a third dimensional mindset, you will attract energies, spirits, information from that level that may cap your ability to progress
Hmm.
further,
Hmm.
right? Whereas if you pull yourself in the 50 frequency, then you have a better time discerning those energies that are supportive to you versus the ones that aren't supportive to you, to better stay in that higher 5D frequency.
Absolutely. Because you literally feel the difference.
Mm-hmm.
It's a density of sort. And without judgment, you can understand the ascension process in everything,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a human contact, whether it's an environment, whether it's a system, a whole system, or whether it is, your backyard. Like everything is going to reflect back to you the energy in which that you're living in,
Mm-hmm.
right? It,
Mm-hmm.
that's law. That's just law of physics, essentially. Like if you go into it, you're going to, like attracts like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So once you get more and more comfortable in the ascension process of really embodying this frequency that is that of light, because essentially that's what it is. It's love and light, but love in a word that we are using to describe an energy of essentially what it is the
Mm-hmm.
light, right? But we use the word love in so many different contexts that is actually, it densifies the actual meaning of it in the first place. That's a whole other story. But I feel like it's like that energy of source, okay, of God, of creator, the high, the highest, the oneness, the
Mm-hmm.
oneness of like one consciousness, or Christ consciousness, or that this higher power of love existence, right? We are all that. That is everything in which we come from,
Mm-hmm.
right? Here, maneuvering our way through a third dimensional world that is experiencing right now the ascension into fifth. It doesn't happen all at once, but that is what our globe, our energy sphere, is slated for,
Mm-hmm.
is the creation of a higher frequency existence.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all going through it at different rates. Some have chosen fully to go there, and some are never going to reach it because they weren't to come here and do it this time. And that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's no better or worse. So I think sometimes with what's going on in a very kind of, like we've talked about the chaotic energy and how to maneuver through it, it's like instead of the perception of using our tools to get through our third dimensional perspective, we can say yes to our journey in ascension and what that looks like, because that has two completely different feels to it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I think embodying this frequency is going to allow us to hear where to go and what to do, and also like to be guided in a way that is just a knowing.
Mhm.
And it's the fear energy that is the third dimensional, that fear is spawned from this lower vibration. It really is.
Mhm.
And that's literally what drives the third dimensional frequency, is the fear, right? It's the disconnect from light to fear. um and fear you can just break down as the journey to love and light, with the like ego kind of that is that interference, right?
Yeah.
And that's fair, that's a part of human existence, but humans are slated to evolve into a fifth dimensional frequency if you so choose, and so that is about the transmute of fear energy,
Mhm.
because that isn't what we are made of. That isn't how we came into existence, through fear.
Mhm.
It wasn't like we got, some of us are light and some of us are not. It's not how it is, but it's just our journey to see it.
I think too with the fear energy, for some that are like, I don't think I'm in fear energy. What I was just hearing from my guides is check yourself if you notice you're getting caught in being in states of anger, being in states of sadness that you can't pop out of, or states of disconnect.
Right.
Like where you're like, I don't care. I don't even care anymore. When we don't even care anymore, that's equal to, it's a coping mechanism of
Right.
either anger, sadness, or I don't care. And so if you notice you are reacting in one of those ways, that's an indicator of checking in with why.
Hmm.
Instead of staying in that, like staying angry, we stay angry because it keeps you safe.
Right. Or
Right?
resistance. So exactly, fear is kind of a blanket, it's a word that we've had to create with kind of more of a blanket energy, right? So yeah, for sure. It doesn't actually have to mean scared,
No,
but
exactly.
or like even a resistance, because another thing is like a very kind of third dimensional way of breaking down current states of existence is to go all logic,
Hmm.
right? It has to be figure outable,
Yeah, has to make sense.
right? Has to, but like make sense according to your human experience thus far. Really think about it that way. And like that small kind of minuscule perspective of the expansiveness is, it's making sense according to your human experience in this lifetime,
Hmm.
versus the ultimate trust of existence that has been around since the creation of the energy that we're in, right? And that can like, that can be like, oh, overwhelming, because it's like I need to know the here and the now right now, and that is fair. That's fair.
Hmm.
But understand that your here and now right now doesn't have to be ultimately figure outable and linear timeline, because no matter how much we want to perceive that we're in control of this linear timeline, we're not.
Hmm.
Because in 10 seconds from now, something completely could shift and it changes my ultimate third dimensional existence.
Yeah.
We can think we do, and that might make us feel safe, but ultimately, there is no permanence.
Hmm.
So we can do the things that make us feel safe. But what I'm trying to encourage is more of the frequency of, okay, this and this and this has to happen before I do this, because logically it doesn't make sense. Instead, being like, I trust the light within me that is me to guide the way, so that I can, receive and continue in this frequency, because that's where I'm comfortable. Does that make sense? Why are you laughing?
Well, I'm laughing because fear was in my head. They're like, can you show them this card? This is what we want to say. So I was like, okay. And it was literally this one. So this is Star Ancestor. It says, follow the voice of your soul, which is exactly what you were just talking about, right? Like literally follow the voice of your soul. Your soul is ancient. Your
Oh my
soul
gosh.
of the stars, of timelines before, of dimensions and galaxies beyond what we know. Like you are an expansive being, and so it's like follow that.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. So I want to draw attention here to the top of the pyramids there, they're glowing. And when I went into my meditation before we started this, when you and I kind of, I'm like, okay, let's go in. They showed me in all like the bird's eye view and all the dimension of the pyramids again, with the tops glowing. And then it's almost like, that golden light. energy that we work with. It was
Mhm.
like, so the top, I always see the top of the pyramids come up to glow and then come up, and then there's just like energy coming out, right? And
Mhm.
so on that card, it was really beautiful because
Yes.
that's what I saw earlier.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
So,
cool.
what would be your interpretation of that energy, of the top of the pyramid energy? Because you've done a lot of work in
Yeah.
Egypt.
Yeah.
Do they
Well,
speak of that?
yeah, they say that in many ways that the pyramids, if we were talking about the ones on the Giza Plateau specifically, are like dormant batteries, dormant energy sources, dormant gateways, um, but that the energy is non active right now. Some people say that sound harmonics can get them moving and alive and stuff like that. And there's also theories or stories that when Earth is ready to be back in consciousness, they will come alive again, holding frequencies, holding power, holding all of that. Lots of different theories. So,
That's unbelievable. Because as I'm talking about this, they're like, ding, ding, ding.
hello.
Because the last 3 days, they're like, this is the start of the ascension process into five-dimensional frequency. And then that's why all of a sudden I'm seeing these, and I don't know where these pyramids are. They're just pyramids
Mm-hmm.
that are starting to go, the light, it's starting to literally activate.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if we will see more. I mean, if we're hanging out in a third dimension, or like if we're not hanging out in the dimension that we can see it or feel it, then we're not going to, and that's fine,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see if more people are having experiences where they are starting to uh feel this frequency rise, and having experience like this where the light codes are starting to activate within our DNA,
Mm-hmm.
right? We're starting to connect with higher beings and receive messages that way. Oh, and like I've been divinely guided into people I've never heard speak before, and I'm like, this is the same thing, this is exactly what I've been getting and like talking about, and I've been telling my family, and they're like, mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's okay. That's okay. I'm just like, the activations are starting, and I think that it's going to be on different levels for different people, which is fine,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I want to talk to you a little bit about, like, instead of having the whole big picture of like our five-dimensional earth and our third dimensional earth, it's like, what are some of the things that we can do on a daily basis that even removing the label of 5D and 3D, that brings us into our light bodies, or our light consciousness, or our source consciousness, or one consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
for people? Like, if we can like even pull in some um guidance from our guides that are here helping us. I know mine are helping me articulate this because I'm not great at articulating it. I've realized why it's hard for me to articulate things. So for people who listen, when I get really excited and I start whatever, is because it's hard for me to translate it into English,
Yeah, I get that.
because it's an energy or a knowing. And it, when you channel, or you transfer the communicative energies, is essentially what they're saying. It's not in English. It's just, but you receive it in a knowing.
Mm-hmm.
But to relay the messages,
You have to
I
put it
have to
in
be
language.
careful with how to do it. But I get ahead of myself because it is all in an energy transfer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do want to explain that. So if people find it hard to follow me, I'm really working on how I can transfer the energy messages through English better. Does that
To,
make sense?
to speak
Better.
good.
I want to speak good from source.
Nice. I understand that though, honestly, that's the thing always, and a lot of light workers talk of that too. I think again, sort of like we talked about last week, is like being in a state of joy, finding a state of joy, even incremental steps towards that joy help to hold your frequency higher. And then another one that I've really been hearing from Spirit a lot is really being present in the moments, not being in the past or the future or in the to dos or the should have dones,
Totally.
but being in the moment. So if your moment is watching a movie, you are fully embracing the watching the movie,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like full permission in each moment. And even if that moment means working or getting tasks done or cleaning, you have full permission to be working in that moment or cleaning. Um, because I think sometimes we forget that like present moment is where we are living.
Exactly.
Present
And
moment.
why would we have created that present moment for ourselves if we weren't to experience and live it and be in it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
So I think that's a key thing right now that I keep getting from them. So yeah. How
Mhm.
about you?
Joy for sure. I mean, not everyone has little kids, and that doesn't always do the same thing for them. Like, not everybody's lit up by little kids. But I just, oh my gosh, like my littlest one, she just turned 2, and when I hold her close, I can still feel her such high vibrations from her 'cause she's so fresh from the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that she'll hold that higher vibration for life. Like she didn't come in to waver, and I know that. So that is one thing that's really and they're just telling me like she did come in to help do that, to
Mm-hmm.
keep that 5D frequency going. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, she's still 2. She can still rip around and scream at her siblings, but I mean, like when you hold her free, when you hold her and literally like immerse in the frequency, it is that high source frequency. It is different. It
Mm-hmm.
is. And I think that kids naturally have that easier than adults
Mm-hmm.
because they haven't disconnected so far from it yet.
Yeah.
And I especially the kids coming in now more and more as they're coming in with such like higher frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So even just like even in setting in the childlike frequency, even if you're not going to hug a 2-year-old, but like being in more of the childlike frequency to play or
Mm-hmm.
watch something on TV that's silly or animated or oh, they just showed textile stuff, playing Play-Doh, or like for some people that could be baking, maneuvering dough or something like that. That's there's like something to do with the textile stuff that's going to help alleviate some of that too. That was just like little tidbits that I kind of pulled through.
Yeah. Excuse me. I
And
inhaled my
music, right?
water. One other thing that they're saying too is uh, music, because
I just said
music
that. Yeah.
frequency, and the frequency of music can help you merge with that frequency. So like literally if you are in say a really bad mood and you put on a song that makes you feel that joy factor, the music permeates all spaces, so it will move through the frequency of your being, and your being will desire to match the higher frequency. So music is like uh, a beautiful way to invite you back up, right? It's
Totally.
like someone that can hold your hand and help you back up the staircase is
Right.
music,
Mhm.
right? So that's a good one to remember. Yeah.
And like be conscious about it too, because if you're in a conversation or you're watching something or you're deep into, Instagram, I don't know what it is. And all of a sudden you feel that it isn't the frequency in which you're being pulled in the highest like light, you can
Hmm.
feel the density. You can feel the density within a conversation, and you can give yourself full permission to cut that off. Be like, you know what? This isn't serving me right now. Done.
Hmm.
And if you're in the middle of a conversation, you can be like, anyways, so either change the subject or leave and be like, okay, I'm taking a sec for myself. Like we don't give ourselves full permission to do that enough, I think.
Hmm.
But you can feel it,
Yeah.
and especially right now because they're like, it is very evident. The
Yeah.
energies are very evident right now where you have the ability to feel the difference. And
Hmm.
many of us have already chosen.
Yeah.
And so when we feel more comfortable in that third dimensional frequency, because that's comfort for us, then that's fine. Like it's not about 5D or no D, right? Like we're not doing that.
Yeah.
Right? It's not how it works, right? But knowing that even someone that we can love very, very dearly, if they're not going to energy match with you, that's fine. That doesn't mean that you have to alter your state of consciousness for it.
Hmm.
Give them full permission and forgive yourself for ever judging that
Hmm.
in allowance to ascend.
Yeah. I think that's beautiful. Very nice.
Okay, do you want to pull cards for the people listening?
Yeah,
You did already.
I kind of did already. So you go.
Oh, which deck should I go from?
Uh,
Okay, I'm gonna go for my angels. I very rarely pull from this, but they came through the yesterday as well. So I'm going to read from Angel Therapy Oracle Cards by Doreen Virtue.
all right.
This is specifically for the energy of the individuals watching today who've tuned in and have connected to the energy transfer in which we are doing.
Love it.
Let's see. That was mine. Okay. I'm really pulling through the oneness, the consciousness, the one consciousness, the highest Christ consciousness in which we are all connected. Crown chakra. This is the second deck.
I think my whole head was just like right before you said it.
So I pulled from the Beyond Lemuria deck as well, and I also got the crown chakra, but this is the crown chakra card.
Mm-hmm. Love that.
Pay attention to your ideas as they are messages from true divine guidance sent in answer to your prayers. So the crown chakra is like, if you can visualize yourself connecting to source energy through the top of your head, through your crown chakra. Sometimes I actually have the visual of like exactly kind of like this, the white light energy that comes from source, and it kind of moves and permeates through my body. And so maybe for really connecting yourself into this fifth dimensional frequency, if you're really wanting to pull that into you more, you can connect through your crown chakra and ask for guidance, ask the angels for guidance in this energy format, so that you can start paying attention to how that energy transfers through you, not through me in my interpretation of the English language for me to give to you, in which I really try my best to do, but this is directly from source to you.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a little practice doing that, because that's where it comes from. That's where our oneness comes from, is that source. So connecting through that crown chakra is a good way to start.
Beautiful. I love it.
I do too.
Cool.
We're beautiful talk. I think I talked so much, Jeanette.
Fantastic. It was fantastic. It was your turn.
I don't know, it was. I think I've talked a lot lately.
That was great. That was great. Okay, well, thank you for all those insights and sharing your downloads and stuff. I think
Thank
that's
you.
quite beautiful for us to ponder. And to all of you watching today, we sure send so much love and high vibes, peaceful vibes to you as we are all maneuvering, swimming in this pool of everything, right? We are all in it. And so we just need to keep going and keep choosing, consciously choosing in every moment what we want to do because of what's going on. So thank you guys so much for watching. If this is your first time watching us, do subscribe and share. That helps us out a lot. And if you share this with someone who really would benefit from this message, then that's a beautiful thing. So thank you guys all so much, and we will see you next week.